Welcome to the Costa Property Podcast, the podcast that turns your dreams of owning a piece of paradise on the Costa del Sol into reality. I'm Warner Laurie, and I'm joined by my co-host and wife, Sandra Laurie.
Join us as we embark on navigating the ins and outs of real estate and relocation to this beautiful region.
We're not just about market trends, we're about sharing real-life experiences, because we know the struggle firsthand, and I've helped many people navigate this challenge also.
If you're dreaming of your perfect Costa del Sol home and want to get real, no-frills, expert advice, then you're absolutely in the right place. Join us each week as we share honest insights and information that will guide your journey.
Today I want to explain to you the buying process and break it down to step by step. I hear this all the time from my clients. I wish someone had just explained it to me step by step from the beginning to the end so I know exactly what I'm going to do. So as you know, I am the director of WL Costa Properties, and I've been selling properties in the Costa del Sol for as long as I can remember. When a client approaches me to see one of my properties, I get excited, okay? Because I know I've got great properties and I know that maybe the next person is the one that's going to buy it. So when I go and do the viewings and the client says, yes, this is the property for me, I'm like, okay, so let's go ahead and let's get this property reserved. So the client, obviously, it might be over for holidays, 3 or 4 days or a week, and by chance he's walked by the office or he's looked on the internet, he's seen this property, and it might be the first time that he's came to Madina or the Costa del Sol. He loves it and he wants a piece of paradise, as they say. So the first step then, we see the property, he loves the property, what happens next? So normally when I list a property in Spain, it's different from other areas. So I'm from the UK. So in the UK, when I sold property in the UK, we listed the property at a certain price, and that price then, it depends when we marketed it, what that property would be sold for. Okay, so if I listed the property at £100,000, it works as an offers over. Okay, so it could go to 120 or 130,000 pounds. Whereas in Spain, it's different. Okay, everybody loves a deal. So when I go and list a property to the market, I will list it normally at the top price. Okay, because 9 times out of 10, the buyer is going to come and is going to make an offer. So it's going to be different from different scenarios from different countries, but this is the way it works in Spain. So for example, if the property is €275,000, and the person goes and looks at it and says, I don't feel it's worth €275,000, then what they'll do is I'll say to them, well, okay, you love the property, you're happy to buy the property, let's make an offer and see what the seller says. You don't know what situation the seller is, if he wants to sell it quickly, if he bought it a long time ago. So what we would do then is we would go back to the office, we would talk about what is a good offer for this property, we'll put it in writing and we'll send it to the seller. The seller will then look at the offer, study it. Does it meet his needs? Is the client ready to buy? Does he need a mortgage? Is he going to pay a deposit subject to certain conditions? So he will evaluate everything, and then he will come back and say, thank you for your offer, I accept your offer. Or what he'll do is he'll send you a counter offer. Okay, so this is kind of the way it works. For example, I have a beautiful villa in Madina. We've done over 20 viewings on it just now. The price is 850,000. We started to get into negotiations with a buyer and the seller, and thankfully now both have agreed a deal. Don't be thinking that this offer is derogatory, because you never know what situation the seller is in. As an agent, I can always guide you, okay? Because if the property is the perfect property and it's priced perfectly, then, if you make an offer, then 9 times out of 10, it's going to be rejected, because everybody is looking for this property. So that's something that you just need to be aware of. After that, when everything is agreed, the sellers agreed, the buyers agreed, now it's time to pay the deposit. So normally in Spain, it's €6,000 deposit. And what that does is it takes the property off the market until you actually find out, is the property owned by the person that's selling it? Is all the paperwork in place? Do they have any debts, etc., etc.? For me, as an agency in Benalmádena, if any of my clients, I would always recommend any foreigners to get a lawyer, because the lawyer gives you peace of mind, okay? I've seen a lot of people come in and say, I want to buy a property, but I don't know where to start. When I get people like this, the first thing I do is introduce them to a lawyer, because the lawyer will give them the peace of mind, because don't forget, this is all the life savings that they have, that they are going to buy a property in Spain in a different country. So it's really important that they feel confident that they have the right legal team involved to buy this property. Once you go to the lawyer and everything is explained to you, the legal side of it, then we're ready to go all in. The offer's been made, the deposit's been paid, and the lawyer has said that everything's okay with the property and it's ready to be sold. So the next step is the private purchase contract. Normally, this is 10% of the purchase price. So, for example, if you're buying a property, €275,000, then it would be €27,500 that you have to pay. But don't forget, you've already paid $6,000, so it'll be $27,500 all in. This is called the Contrato de Arras. This contract protects you as a buyer, and it also protects the seller. Because if you decide when you pay this 10% that you don't want to buy the property, then unfortunately you will lose that deposit. And vice versa. If the seller says, I don't want to sell that property, and he signs the Contrato de Arras, legally, he has to give you double what you paid. So it protects both parties. It's a very robust system. I know you've got horror stories in the UK that, you think that you've sold your property, and then in the last day, something happens, and basically they pull out. And you could be buying another property, and then it's a chain. Well, over here in Spain, it doesn't work that way. The Contrato de Arras protects the buyer and the seller, so there's no problems. And if somebody does pull out, then it does cost them a lot of money to do that. Once the Contrato de Arras is signed, that normally follows 2 weeks after your deposit has been paid. Okay, this gives 2 weeks for the lawyers to check all the documentation. It also gives you a chance, if you're looking for finance from a bank or mortgage, to get the valuation done to make sure that you have the money to buy the property, because you don't want to be signing a Contrato de Arras for the 10% and you find that you don't have the money to buy the property. This is a big mistake, and as an agent, I would never let this happen. So I would always make sure my buyer is confident that he has the money to buy, and if he doesn't, to make sure that he has that in place so that there is no problems going forwards. Once the Contrato de Arras is signed, then happy days. You have your property in the sun, but you only have to wait normally around 30 to 60 days for the transaction to be complete at the notary. The 30 to 60 days gives you the opportunity to go back home, make sure the money's been sent to the lawyer, or gives you the opportunity for the lawyer to set up, your own bank account. You need to work with a currency company to get the money over to Spain in time so that you can buy the property. So it is a very robust system, and it is a fantastic system because we have so many international buyers from different countries, the USA, the UK, all around Europe, and we have to make it easy. Because if we don't make it easy, then we don't sell the properties, and then it is a problem. So the Spanish make it very easy for you to buy a property in the Costa del Sol or in Spain. So the exciting part is probably 2 weeks before the 60 days up, the lawyer will contact you. Normally, you would have gave the lawyer the power of attorney because this gives them the opportunity to get your NIE number, which is a tax number that you need to buy a property in Spain. And with this power of attorney, they can also set you up a bank account in your own name with a Spanish bank, which, if you were trying to do that yourself, sometimes could be very complicated. So it is a great opportunity. You meet the lawyer, you trust the lawyer, you give them power of attorney. The rest, you just sit back and wait for their instructions. So around about 2 weeks before, they'll send you all the information that they need in regards for you to buy the property. Okay? So this would also include the taxes. As I know, Spain's a beautiful country. You know, it's great coming here, but the taxes in Spain, you need to know and factor it in your budget. So, for example, if you're buying a property at 250,000 euros, 10%, you need to factor in 10% if you aren't buying with a mortgage, and round about 11 or 12% if you are buying with a mortgage. I'm going to break this down how this works. 7% will be your transfer tax or stamp duty. 1% is for your lawyer. 1% is for the notary fees to transfer it from the old owner to the new owner. And then you have your miscellaneous costs like NIEs and powers of attorneys and everything else. So we factor in 10% and for purchasing the property. And so if you were looking at that, we've also created a budget calculator that you can download for free on my website in the resource section. And it just helps you put in the price of the property and tells you how much you will pay at the day of the notary. So it makes sure that you know what's happening and there's no surprises when the lawyer sends you the details of it and you decide, oh my God, there's another 10%, I need to find that. So it's really important that you know the buying costs of buying a property here. Probably the first day when you're introduced to your lawyer, he will explain that to you anyway so that you fully understand the process. Once all of that's out the road, it's the exciting day. It's the day of the notary. And like in my country, normally we let the solicitors handle these transactions. You know, there's no notary or anything like that. The solicitor sends you a text message or calls you and says, congratulations, the property is now yours. In Spain, it's a bit different. Okay, so in Spain, you have to go to the notary. And the notary will basically oversee the sale from the buyer's side and the seller's side to just give that extra security. Okay, so when you go to the day of the notary, if you can't make it, your lawyer will go on your behalf. This is why you sign the power of attorney, which is a great piece of paper because obviously in your own country, you would have work commitments, childcare. It may be difficult for you to come over to sign at the notary. If you are lucky enough to come here to sign for your own keys, then it's a beautiful moment because you're sitting in front of the seller and the seller can tell you everything about the property, when he bought it, you know, how he's used it for his family. He could really get in and the seller, you know, A lot of people are emotional to sell it. They may have it for 20 years. Their family have been using it. They have a really peace in their heart. So it's nice for them to see who the property is getting handed over to as well. So it's a nice day, and your agent would be there, the lawyers, the seller's lawyer, if he's not Spanish. So it's a good day, and basically it takes about an hour. All the paperwork's drawn up. Your lawyer translates everything to you, gives you the go-ahead, you sign it, the seller signs it, and then it goes to the notary. The notary signs it. Congratulations, you now have your dream home in the sun. So yeah, that's it. In a nutshell, the buying process is very simple. And just before we finish, I want to give you my 3 golden rules. Number 1, don't skip steps. Even if you're in a hurry, make sure you follow the process, okay? Each part of the process protects you, so don't rush past them. Number 2, get pre-approved early. Even if you're not sure you'll need a mortgage, it gives you clarity and also bargaining power. Costa del Sol market is moving very, very fast, and only the people that are prepared and ready to go will get their property without any problems. Number 3, expect delays. So if there's a problem with the paperwork or the seller can't make it to Spain at the time if he was outside the country, or the documentations need a bit longer for the lawyers to check, if they're looking for the LPO, which is a License Primero Ocupación, which a lot of people are looking for investment, and they're looking for this documentation. So sometimes it does take a bit of time, but your lawyer will be guiding you all the way through it. So don't worry, everything will be sorted, and they will make the experience very easy for you. I hope this has helped you clarify the process. Please share it with a friend or save it for later. We want every buyer to feel confident and not confused. And if you're ready to take the next step but feel unsure, just send us a message. We're happy to connect with you. Trusted lawyers, banks, agents, and even mortgage brokers. Buying in Spain is a dream, and it can be simple. You just need to know your steps. Thank you. Adios.
Thank you so much for listening into today's episode on the Costa Property Podcast. Another fantastic episode learning about the highs and lows of relocating to the Costa del Sol from real people who have been through the journey themselves, and of course our wonderful experts. If you have been enjoying the show so far, remember to hit subscribe to the podcast and leave a rating or review.
We absolutely love hearing your thoughts. Please send any questions that you would like us to answer on the show to warner@wlcostaproperties.net, or you can pop us a message on our socials, which are in the show notes. Remember, you can also visit the website www.wlcostaproperties.net.
See you on the next episode, and bye for now.
Bye-bye.